Can you show us how to be more effective on LinkedIn?
Of course, no problem at all.
In 10 minutes, please.
Oh, right, okay. Better get on with it then. So the most important elements of a profile are your profile picture. Make sure it's a close-up headshot and looking professional. Doesn't have to be taken by a professional. This is your headline. Make sure it's punchy, descriptive, and full of keywords. Not a job title and a company. This is your About section, previously called Summary. Start it with your email address to make it easy for people to contact you. Then tell a story or explain a narrative that talks about your why. Don't just tell us what you do, but why you do it. Make it interesting and reveal more about your personality. This is your background image. Either use it for branding or an image that represents what you do. And if you can't do either of those, then just a pleasant image of something that you like. And this is your contact information. Make sure that you have website links added into this section. Underneath your About section is something called Featured. Now this is a new feature. You might not have it yet, but it's really good if you do. You can add posts, articles, links or media. Preferably links or media. Directly link to your website with a preview image or add a PowerPoint presentation or video, maybe introducing yourself. Now profiles are really important, don't get me wrong, and ideally you would want a great profile and great activity, but if I was given a choice between the two, either a great profile with minimal activity on LinkedIn versus someone with a poor profile but highly active, who would be the most successful? No question, activity wins every time. Now there is of course the right type of activity, and what I mean by that is that when you're on LinkedIn you need to go there with a networking mindset, not a marketing mindset. Don't get promotional either in your posting or comments, but try to add value and engage with people. So what that means is spending time every day scrolling through your feed looking for relevant and interesting posts that you can comment on. Ideally, comment as much as you can. Now if you haven't got time, a quick reaction can always help, but try where you can to comment. That adds value to the person that's posted it and helps to educate your followers about you. But don't just rely on your feed. Think of a topic or a subject that you know is of particular relevance to your target audience. Let's say in this case equality. Go up to the top and paste that word or phrase into the search bar. Then click on See Your Results and then click on Content. And now you will find plenty of posts that you can comment on. Now by regularly commenting on relevant posts from relevant people, then you're going to build something called relevancy. And relevancy means that more people are going to see your posts. So now let's talk about posting. Now there are 5 types of posts that you should consider using. First of all, native video. Fantastic for personal branding and also something called dwell time, which I'll talk about a fair bit now. If people are watching your video, they are dwelling on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn want that because it keeps people on the platform longer, and therefore they will reward your post by sending it to more people, which helps with view count. And whilst view counts are not the most important thing, it's still very helpful in terms of attracting more engagement. Of course, the downside of video is you've got to make the thing, so it can be quite time consuming. There are some technical barriers for some people, although it's not as difficult as it used to be. And it can be harder to attract comments, and that's because people often watch the video but don't think to comment on it because they're very much engaged in watching the video itself. The second type is an image post, which can be great for grabbing attention because it stands out in the feed. You do find though with image posts that you get less dwell time. People have a quick glance at it and then move on in the feed, so that doesn't help your views and therefore engagement. And actually they can tend to attract reactions and reshares rather than comments, and comments are really what you're aiming for. So a good video should be square format with a headline, short, no more than 3 minutes, and it's essential that you use subtitles because hardly anybody has their sound on LinkedIn. They're great for personal branding though. Image posts. try to make it comment worthy. As I say, people can easily move on from an image, so you need to do something like asking a question to make it more comment worthy. Next we have one of my favourites, which is document posts. Document posts are great for dwell time and also clicks and views. Clicks do lead to views. If people click in your post, it's more likely that the algorithm's going to distribute it to more people. A little bit like video though, they can be time consuming because you've got to make them, and sometimes can be harder to attract comments because again the focus is on the document and sometimes that distracts people from commenting. And then we have the often underutilized text posts, which are fantastic for comments, also decent for dwell time if you use all 1300 characters that you're allowed. They're great for clicks because you have to click on see more to read the whole post, and that then leads to greater views. But because they're not graphic, they can be easier to scroll past, so that can be a downside. And then finally we have articles. Now it's not a type of post as such, this is a long form article over 500 words. Fantastic for establishing authority and credibility, really showing people that you know your subject, but tend to be much harder to get views and engagement on these days. So let's have a look at a document post. Now documents can be PowerPoint presentations or PDF format. Best I think when they're minimalist, so there's little information on each page or slide. Now the more pages or slides there are, the more clicks you're going to get because you have to literally click on the right hand side of it in order to actually see what the next page is. This is just an example for you. It's probably a bit of an extreme example with 80 pages. I'll just jump forward there, but quite an effective post. 6,674 reactions and 766 comments, which is pretty good going. And then really the best of all, which is text only posts. This particular one you can see 85,000 likes, 4,500 comments. I got over 7 million views in the feed, but who would want to read a big block of text like that, right? So how did that be so successful? Well, of course, actually what happens with a text only post is you actually only see the first, nowadays 5 lines, in the days of this one 3 lines in the feed, and then you have to click on see more. So as long as the first 5 lines get your interest, then you're going to click on that see more, and that's really helpful for the distribution of the post. So the first 5 lines are pretty critical in making sure that your post is successful. The primary focus of any post should be to start a conversation. Comments are what you are looking for. To start a conversation, you need to engage people, and these are the types of posts that can often work. Just some ideas for you. Something challenging and debatable, that's going to get people commenting. Something helpful, either from you or from elsewhere. You might have a tip or an idea that you picked up elsewhere that you want to share with your network. Those posts always do well. People love personal stories. Try and relate something to something personal to you, and it will be so much more successful. People love cool stuff as well, something that kind of inspires them, or new or different or innovative or something along those lines. And of course anything that's highly topical at that moment is also likely to do very well. A few examples for you. Challenging and debatable. I'm getting sick and tired of reading about entrepreneur routines. 15,000 likes and 1,300 and something comments. Fantastic. If a sales manager asks you, sell me this pen on a job interview, this is how you answer. People always have strong opinions about these things. 418 comments, good stuff. These happen to be text only posts, by the way. Helpful. Sarah's one here, helping job seekers, 143 comments. And highly topical. This is an interesting recent example with regards to COVID and returning to work. It's also an image post. And as I said, personal stories work really well. Whatever you're talking about, if you can relate at least part of it to something personal to you, then it will tend to go down much better and be more popular. And I also mentioned something cool. This is often through videos. This is a shirt that you can throw a bucket of dirty water over and it just runs off. Kind of thing you see from time to time. May or may not be applicable to you, but they do tend to do very well, especially as videos. And finally, here are the things that people do wrong with posts. Any links, URLs, don't do it, it doesn't work. Promotional posting, as I mentioned before, don't do that either. Images, be careful, if they're just likeable, you won't get comments. And that kind of, look at me, look at us, we've won an award. Those kind of humble brag posts, don't do that. Quotes or statements, no, not a good idea, they tend not to engage. And if you don't do 5 lines, you're not going to activate the see more, and therefore that will limit your distribution. And finally, reshares, a controversial one but true. Reshares do not work on LinkedIn. If you see a post you like, don't share it, comment or like or react to it in some way. But don't share it, doesn't help you or the original poster. Oh no, I've overrun by about 10 seconds. I'm really sorry about that, but I hope you found it useful anyway.